So can you tell me your first name, how long you've been collecting for, and what do you target with your collecting?
So my first name's James, but everybody in the hobby calls me Murph. I've been collecting for 21 years. I actually have a shop that has been open for 2 years, and what I enjoy collecting, probably baseball is my favorite sport, but as a shop owner, I try to stay with what's hot in the news, players-wise, but baseball is where my true love is. 2000s, like earlier Red Sox, stuff like that, my earlier days is probably my bread and butter, but I do love vintage.
That's great. Has your collecting habits changed over those 20 years? Did you start off as a kid collecting certain things, and now as an adult you focus on different?
So my dad got me into it because he was a huge Fred Lynn fan. He got me into it because I was a huge Nomar Garciaparra fan. So I was just collecting Nomar cards, then I turned into Red Sox cards, then into baseball cards, and obviously as I got older, it was more so, all right, I like football, I like basketball, let me get into those. And then it was the hobby boomed, really, is when I really started venturing out into players that I don't really know all too well, but have potential and such like that. So it's definitely evolved over 2 decades compared to when I was a kid to now.
And what are your strategies in terms of what you buy to resell versus what you keep in your personal collection?
So I always have shop first mentality. I never overreach like a budget or price point or anything for my personal collection. If I can run into a good PC card for a cheaper price, I'll do it, but I'll never trade anything liquid for the shop for something that I would PC. So I always put the shop first and then my PC second, because I try to make sure that the shop thrives, and I'll come second pretty much. So I try to look at it as unselfishness.
And do you target graded or raw cards?
So coming here, I wanted to get a good blend of both. I've noticed myself picking up just graded cards. In general, I don't discriminate graded versus ungraded stuff. I mean, if it's raw, if it's graded, 10, 9.5, whatever it may be, that's great too. But here, it's seemingly just graded stuff today.
And do you target certain parallels for certain players, or what attracts you in terms of making that buy decision?
So for my PC, I try to target low pop, low number, nice insert stuff, good color. In general, for the shop, I really don't, just kind of what moves, because, if it's a special insert or parallel, probably going to be pricier, which may draw, your average collector away or someone on a cheaper budget away. So if anything, I try to find something for a good deal, whether that's just a single card, a bulk deal, whatever it may be. So I keep my options open to just about anything.
And do you focus on local sports teams and players for your shop, or do you find your customer base is pretty widespread?
I want to offer more local team stuff in my shop, but being in Rhode Island, even though we're in New England, people still want the hot names of today, whether it's Ohtani, Ellie, Joe Burrow, Mahomes. Nobody really wants Brady ever since he went to the Bucs. Nobody wants Mookie Betts now he's on the Dodgers, Bogart. So I want to offer more, just as a collector, but my customers, they want, again, the hot stuff that's in.
Okay. And where else do you go to buy inventory for your shop aside from trade?
So I set up at some local shows back home, 30, 40 table shows. Serves as great marketing and advertising purposes. But I also host trade night at my shop once a month. So I try to get some inventory through trading, through buying there. I try to scour the internet for good deals, whether that is eBay, other online platforms. But honestly, I like good in-person deals just because I can physically check out the cards, and it gives the customer the satisfaction of getting whatever they want right then and there. So it's a win-win from both perspectives, in my opinion.
That sounds great. What are some of the online platforms that you might shop on for deals?
Outside of eBay? So outside of eBay, let's see. Obviously, like ComC. I check out like Alt sometimes. I check out Facebook and Instagram. When I first started, it was definitely just eBay and then Facebook and Instagram because they were growing. Ever since I opened the shop, though, more in-person, eBay, and then I've noticed myself doing some deals on Instagram, which I kind of thought would go away, but just social media is just so strong and powerful. It's just really hard to kind of stay away from the potential deals you may find there.
And in terms of selling, do you strictly sell out of your store, or do you sell online as well, and if so, where?
So I try to just stay in the shop, if I'm going to be honest, just because I want people to come to the shop, check it out, have a good time, that experience. If I have something in my cases that I can't move, or it's a very niche audience, low-numbered college player card, for instance, I'll throw that on eBay, because I've noticed I've had really good success putting very niche collegiate, maybe like some veterans or legend cards online and letting, the open audience, trying to find it. Other than that, I don't do anything, not too much anymore since the shop with Facebook, but Instagram as well. But Instagram, you're going to get more of the younger generation, and that comes with the more, the flippers, the buyers, the sellers, than the collectors, where I find on Facebook, eBay, at my shop as well.
And when you list those cards for sale on eBay, do you tend to use auction or fixed price?
I prefer fixed price, just because I'll do fixed price with with an offer option on it, just because I don't want to have to worry about maybe a card I like or a card that I'm into selling for just a couple bucks because maybe I listed or posted it wrong, maybe the pictures were bad. So I try to just put it fixed price, have an offer, and if someone gives me a reasonable offer, I'll consider it. I might counter, or I might even accept it. But that's kind of my philosophy when I post on eBay.
That's great. Where do you go to check comps or look up prices?
So eBay is probably the community preferred. I personally like alt for graded cards just because it shows me different websites and such. And it's just quicker at a show like this where you're looking up so many different cards. So I like alt. I'm not a big fan of some other other platforms, but eBay is just what the community uses. And most of the prices from other platforms derive their listings from eBay. So it's like kind of all circling back to eBay in a way.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the alt user experience and what you like about it in particular, why you think it's faster?
Yeah. So I think alt's a little more convenient just because I can scan the card and it'll pop up 95% of the time. When I'm looking at hundreds of cards every day, it's just a little easier to scan it and to, again, get that, card with the listings there. Again, mostly from eBay, but other marketplaces might pop up on there as well. It's just a lot easier for me personally where I'm trying to find bulk deals, package deals, than have to sit there and type certain cards in, 20 times per se. If I'm looking at one specific card, I'll probably just go straight to eBay, just kind of cut out the middleman. But it just kind of depends on the deal that I'm looking at.
Okay. And do you do anything with the pricing data that you get? Do you generate reports and keep track of any of that stuff anywhere?
So I personally don't keep track of anything just because there's so much volume and volatility in terms of cards selling, going up, going down. I try to look at trends. That's what I preach at my shop. Just because the last one sold for $20 less than the 3 before it doesn't mean it's that price. It just averages, trends, up, down, I think are really crucial. Sometimes often looked by people, but that's what I try to do. Averages over the past week, past 5, trends, up, down. That's what I prefer when I'm looking stuff up.
Okay, great. Have you heard about the eBay Vault at all?
I have not too much about it. I know that I'm seeing the banners here at the show about it, but I haven't done too much research about it.
Would you ever consider using a vault service like eBay's in the future to sell some of the higher-end graded cards that you might want to move?
Actually, yes, because unfortunately in my area there's been some local shops that are being broken into. So anything higher end that I do kind of deem, maybe, exposable, I definitely would consider the vault service just because of the recent break-ins. There's been a dozen shops broken in like Southeast New England. So that's definitely something that I would consider moving forward.
Okay. Another question about your store. Do you sell really low-value sports cards at all, like under a couple of dollars? And if so, who are your customers that come in and ask for those or look for those?
So I have various dime, quarter, 50-cent, dollar bins. Kids, people on a tight budget, set collectors, and maybe some older folks looking to, again, maybe get some cards as a gift. Certain players and such are probably the main audiences. I know a lot of people that are getting into the hobby will kind of go through that because they don't have that big of a budget yet, or they don't want to dive too much into it or invest too much. So it's definitely, I don't want to say it's niche, but it's very selective audience. Again, kids, older folks, collectors, people like those are the ones that like the cheaper stuff.
Last question. If you had a magic wand and could change anything about eBay to make the experience better for you or add something new to it, what would that be?
I would probably say, I know there's ways to lower it, but probably the seller fees. I know you can get like an eBay store and such that can also help lower it via a high-rated seller and such. I just think the fees up front, if you're just trying to sell a thing or two, drives people away. I know me personally, it drives me away sometimes, but then again, even with the fees, I can still make out on the other end. So it's a double-bladed sword in my opinion, but that's probably the one thing I would say that would increase my personal experience.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for the interview.
Absolutely.